Hello everybody. Today we will learn the basic principle of SED, the stream editor. SED has several commands, but most people only learn the basic substitute command with flag s. The substitute command changes all the occurrence of the regular expression into a new value. A simple example is by changing one pattern or a word to another word or pattern, as we say. So let us try to create a text file which has a sentence called Linux is very good. Now we will use SED to replace this pattern Linux with the pattern of our choice. So as you see, I have created a test.txt file which says Linux is very good. So if you don't have any idea about stream editor or SED, you can always check out the man pages, which is always provided for free. All you have to do is press man and the command you are searching for. So if I do man SED, they have all the information here about all the flags and all the usage. A simple usage is given. If you want to test, what we do is we are trying to use SED command and trying to change Linux the pattern to something new pattern, which is Unix in this example. Now let's go one by one to each and every word or each or every flag of this command or this one liner. SED means stream editor, minus I means in place. If I don't give minus I, it will not update test.txt, but it will show the output of the command correctly on the screen itself, on the console. So minus I is used for in place. This flag is in place so that the file is also updated. In another example, I will show you how to retain the original file with the original contents by creating a backup. Minus E is for expression, and then S is for substitute. After the delimiter slash, we have our pattern which we need to replace. To what we need to replace, for example Linux to Unix. G is the global flag, which means to change all the occurrences of Linux to Unix. Now I have executed the command, and if I see the result, it has changed Linux to Unix. If you see the output, it has already changed our command, our pattern in the file, to be precise. So we have learned how to use the SED command to substitute our Linux pattern to Unix pattern, any word. So now I will show you how to create a backup and to retain a original file. For example, our original file is test.txt, but if my command goes wrong or if I do something wrong, I have to retain or I should rather retain the original file, so that even if something goes wrong, I have the original content with me. So just write whatever you want to rename the file as. I renamed my in place flag dot backup, which means to retain the file as dot backup as well. So now I am going to change Linux from Unix, as my file has Unix to Linux. If I see, my file has now updated from Unix to Linux. Here you go. But yeah, from Unix to Linux. But if you see, I do LART, I see my backup is there, which would have, any guesses? My original contents, which would be Unix, right? So right now I have shown you an example which retains the original Unix pattern as a backup file. So I'm highlighting this block so you can remember that I have retained my original file as well, and I have changed or substituted the pattern as well. So this is a very helpful practice. It is a very good practice to retain the backup of your changed file, because if our one liner is wrong or if we do something by mistake, at least we have a backup of what we have created. So if you see, this was a simple example of SED. SED is the ultimate stream editor. If you see stream of data as the water flows, it changes the substitutes the pattern. So this was a simple example. Now G is the global flag. If you want to do a particular substitute of a particular occurrence, that you can also do, which is our next example. So G replaces all the occurrences of all the patterns. Now I am trying to create a file which has multiple pattern and multiple occurrences of a pattern. Now I'm trying to create a file which has multiple occurrence of our pattern Linux, and we will try to replace, let us say, the second occurrence or the third occurrence of a particular pattern. If I want to, let us say, only replace the first occurrence or the second occurrence or the third occurrence, how I can achieve it? Now if you see, this file now has 4 occurrence or 3 occurrence of word Linux, and if I want to replace Linux with Unix, I have to use what flags. So if you see, it has changed all the patterns which resemble Linux to Unix everywhere, right? So it doesn't change only the single line, Linux is very good, but it changes all the occurrences, right? So all the n occurrences of the word Linux have now been changed. Now if you want to only change a particular pattern, for example, here in this file the word Unix comes 4 times, right? Now if we want to change only the first occurrence or the second occurrence, then we do not have to use the G flag, because G is the global flag. So our previous example clearly shows, if I do G or if I use the G flag, it changes all the occurrences of that pattern. So now our third example is how to change only a particular occurrence. But for that, let us make the file somewhat simpler. If you see, our file now has 3 lines. Let us try to change this file without any new line, because if you want to change in new line, then you have to use the new line flag as well. So let me create a simple file for our simple example. So in this line, let us try to change third occurrence of Unix, which is this one. It has 4 occurrences of Unix, but let us only try to change the third occurrence and retain first, second and fourth occurrence. It will be done via a simple command SED, S for substitute, change Unix to Linux, but now the third occurrence. So remember, I am not giving the G flag here. I am not giving the G flag here. I am giving the nth occurrence. So change the nth occurrence. I am not using any more flags because I made the file simpler. I am not using the new line flag, remember. So now if you see, it has changed 1 to third occurrence to Linux. See, now the third occurrence of Unix is changed to Linux, but we also forgot to use the -i flag, which is in place, remember. So in our first example, I told you, if I don't use the -i flag, it will not replace the file, but it will show the output on the console. So it has shown the output, but it has not replaced the file. So always remember to use the -i as in place flag, so that I can update the original file as well. So now if I do a cat, it has updated the original file as well. So always remember to use, as I said in first example, to use the backup as well, and yes, always use -i as well. Now let me show you how to play with SED. Now I have updated my file and I have told you that okay, these are my first, second, third, fourth and fifth line. Now how to play with grep, how to use grep, how to play with SED and use it as grep. Use it to find regular expression. As I told you, the basic principle of SED is to print. So I'll use the flag -n now and try to use the flag to print. So as you see, it acts like a grep. Here it does searches for my pattern, which is Linux. So if I do want to do another search, let us try to find any pattern which is fourth. It gives me, or it gives the output just like grep. So this is how you can use SED like grep. So if you don't want to use grep, you are in a hurry, just do the one liner of SED. So this is how we play with SED. It is very easy to use because the basic principle is to print. Now another example is if I want to play and print from first to third line. Now it will print first to third line of the file, right? And now 1 to second line. It works like head, which is a simple example.
Let it go.